Good morning and welcome to the third and final global conference on artificial intelligence and internet. Hello, everyone. We hope you had a restful evening and are energized for another day filled with insightful discussions and engaging sessions. We have an exciting lineup ahead, so let's jump right into the program. Ladies and gentlemen, to kick off our last and final day, let's dive into the world of artificial intelligence, into our panel discussion titled "To GPT or Not to GPT." This is not a question. Moderating this insightful discussion is Dr. Majdi, Department Head of Communication and Computer Engineering, Assistant Director Central for Critical Cybersecurity. Let's hear from our estimated panelists, Dr. Majid, Digital Expert at HPS, Robert, past VP Conference IEEE Thames, and board member from 2015 to 2025, IEEE Region 8 Conference Committee member, and chapter coordinator, research assistant with Center of Technology and Innovation Management and the agency Gateway of Dutch Ministry of Kingdom Relations, and Dr. Ahmed, Professor Central at the Michigan University, USA.
So it's more portion and all of us have to generate to be able to do but another fact is GPT look at the because you would have to right it's something that will not work. And there are these two pictures here have the forecast. And we have the AR. And one of the main is this to see the when you see that this is the unity. Right? And the goal the idea I have a very plan and this plan has
I'm very loud, so it will be very loud. People will leave. With the streaming. Okay. So Majid Touajri, in his PhD, he did what we are doing nowadays, and he did that in '96. He was one of the first people to do a recognition of Arabic script. And at that time, he did it with one hidden layer with an accuracy of 96%. Imagine 96%, right? No, I recall. Right? And he has a lot of impact when he went back to Saudi Arabia on education, research, and digitization. I guess he one of the leading digitization in Saudi Arabia, and he did this for the health sector. And then recently, he was in charge of the AI authority in Saudi Arabia. he always up for something, and he told me he's cooking something nowadays. God knows what it is, right? Then we have Robert, and Robert has been active and has a lot of impact in the digital area, digitization, and the impact on cities and stuff. And then Ahmed has a lot of impact on industrial IoT. As a matter of fact, during his studies, he developed these experiments for oil industry. So all these people are well trained, and they will talk about their perspective of what's the impact of this. All right, I guess we can move. So what's GPT? It is really a generative pre-trained transformer. Transformer really is just another model of machine learning or deep learning. We used transformer ourselves about 5 years ago in one of the applications that we're developing nowadays. We developed, and we have a vision of a device to predict a seizure before it happens. And we predict 1 hour before it happened. That's the first in the world. All right. As a matter of fact, I expect to get the patent soon. And one of the main parameters that helped us to do that, we use transformers. Okay. And then also the conversational AI, because you are combining both for the chat GPT and really for conversational AI, it is like a chatbot. And this really, it gives you the interface with the system. And it gives you a natural interface. And I'm sure many of you have Alexa. Personally, I was not excited in the beginning, but when I started using it, I loved it. Alexa is the only thing in my house that listens to me. Wife never does. Kids, of course, they don't care. Alexa is the one. Alexa does it, she does it. Don't you love that? Okay. So, so at the end, you got this application where you have more of a trained system, and of course you hear now about billion parameters for the system and the training. And what makes it possible is the hardware that's available that can allow you to do this. All right. And then you add to this the conversational, so you have a very friendly interface. Okay. I guess we did that. And you get to the point where you have this agent and you talk to. I'm sure, how many of you have used the system? Right? Okay. I used it in one time, and I'll show you what I did, but we'll come back and ask everybody for their personal experience of the system. All right. It's very interesting because you can really have a conversation with the system and you go through this. Right? One of the direct application is this customer support, because you have a dialogue. So as if you are talking to a human, and more important, you are talking to a smart human, hopefully, because this is what we like in our, and then you have data analysis. And of course, this will lead to a cost reduction. And these are attraction to any enterprise to use the system. This app was the fastest ever among other apps. They achieved 100 million users in 2 months. Right? If you look at other apps, I mean, the closest was TikTok. It took 9 months to reach 100 million. So, as users, it is the fastest and is among all. And you will see from our panelists, it has been used all over the place. Also, of course, there are many surveys to tell you what the hot topics for research. All right, you can disagree with them, but in one of the surveys which was done, you said generative AI is on the top of topics that people are doing research in it. It comes after that to automation, quantum computing, edge computing, sustainable technology, and you can underline the word sustainable. It is really big right now at all applications, and applied AI, hardware security, and next generation chips. And we're doing a lot of work in that next generation chips. As a matter of fact, we're in the process of having a startup. It's called Chip 4.0, right? Then this some of the question when you start looking at ChatGPT, how it works, what are the application which is used, what are the ethical concerns, how can I use it in education, and we'll have a focus on this because in academia, this is a challenge, the limitation, the mitigation of ChatGPT, and example of people have used it. There's a lot of question there, and we'll try to address some of it. All right. This is some of the applications, customer support, content generation. As a matter of fact, one of the main application people are using it is software coding. And from my friends in software areas, they're telling me that they are really has been very successful. It doesn't give you the final product, but it gives you a draft or the first version that you can work on it. And then tutoring, again, coming to the title of the panel, that you cannot avoid ChatGPT. The question is how I can use it. And recently I read that the Khan Academy is starting using ChatGPT to develop tutoring for some of the courses. Okay. This is some of the advantage of it, hopefully it's consistent, it's available, is a multilingual, you can use it in many languages, the speed, data handling, and of course, the last one is not true. When you say it, no personal bias, the system is really very biased. I use the system in a very sensitive matter, which is happening nowadays. So I asked the system, because of the conflict in Gaza, so I asked it, does the Israeli has the right of self-defense? He said, yes. Same question. Does Palestinian have the right of self-defense? It says it is a complicated issue. So it shows, and this can change because I guess it's dynamic learning, and hopefully it will learn the right thing soon. Disadvantage, of course, again, the most problem with it is biased and also misunderstanding of things. In the AI in general, it's not just that ChatGPT. In AI, we have a problem. We started by the, we say, okay, we want to really build the computer that imitate the human brain. But is the human brain good thing? Human brain, with all the problem we have in this world, is caused by human brain. So you want to create a system that causes all this problem for us? All right? You have to think about that. Anyway, isn't it? Okay. When you are developing it, of course, you have to as biased, ethical issues, and misinformation. And these are the consideration you are look at. It's the same thing. And I want to go and show you a personal experience with the system, and then ask our panelists to talk. Okay. Yeah, these are examples of one of the organizations which are using the system in practice. There is example for Pizza Hut, Domino, Nike, Bank of America, H&M, and hopefully by time I will have a more fair system and more knowledgeable system, and a system which will take all our consideration. Personally, let me move on because of time. Okay. Again, repetition. So we hope that the ChatGPT will offer a potential for enhancing human-computer interaction. And we hope that we'll have an ethical, responsible, fair system. So during Valentine time, I went to the system and I say, I want to impress my wife. So I asked the system, can I have really a poem, a love poem, so I can give it to my wife? All right. So this is what I got. All right. Can I have a romantic message to give it to my wife? And excuse me, because I got in Arabic, because of course in Arabic language is much richer to express love. Of course you can express love in any language, but growing in Arabic, so it will be. So I got this. Even if you look at the second one, he say, أنا ساحر بأنفاسها العذبة كلماتها لحن يرن في قلبي في كل نظرة قصيدة حب تكتب. All right. If you look, it is really the semantics is good, but you don't feel the poetry in it. Like because poetry really is a three-dimension thing. So I have the 2D here, which is a semantic, but the third dimension is not there, which is really good news. It means that this system will never replace people. So I asked the system, can you give me a more intense romantic? You know, this is kind of lame thing. Can I have a hotter one? Okay, so this is what I got. في عالم الحياة أنت فني ولوحتي الراقية تحفة فنية سيمفونية عمل من القلب ضحكتك لحن حلو يعزفه الحب في فسيح الحب تتلاقى روحانها وتتجلى. Anyway, I gave this to my wife. It backfired. It did backfire. She asked me, what did you do? That you are covering. I said, I did nothing. I said, so what are you up to? Anyway. Okay, I'll stop here. I have really more of an architecture of ChatGPT 3 and 3.5, and they have 4 now. But I'll stop here and I will ask our panelists to give some of their point of view. And Ahmed, you want to stop?
Okay, so I will talk about one angle only about education. And actually, I wasn't prepared to do a presentation. So Dr. Baina asked me yesterday to prepare a PowerPoint. So last night, I was thinking to give a real example. So if you look at the PowerPoint here, you don't see my name. This is Salma. She is my daughter. She is a senior mechanical engineering student. So I told her, I asked her, can you make a PowerPoint about GPT education opportunity and challenges? And I didn't give her any direction. And then after 10 minutes, she called me, okay, I sent you the presentation. And she told me I generated by Google Bard VR without even asking her to do that. So now in students, they start to use this one. You cannot avoid it. So she generated in 10 minutes and she updated and she sent it to me and then I update a little bit. So in maximum 15 minutes, we were able to generate a very professional PowerPoint. The point I will show you the presentation here, but even to be honest, this one issue in education. So that's why I put her name, not my name, because it's not mine. And even I put the logo for Google VR. So for the impact of GPT on education, you will find the first one is the personalized learning experience. The second factor is enhancing feedback mechanism and student engagement. And also it has 24/7 access to knowledge for the student, and it increase accessibility and inclusion in education. So I will just go very quick through the PowerPoint to see that is a generated PowerPoint from Google ER. And it doesn't matter about all of this. So my point is, I'd like to go to the last one, which has some strategy. And I'd like to focus on one of them because this is another example. I have another boy, he's in middle school. He came to me and told me that we start to use ChatGPT to do our assignment. And one of the things here is one of the options here to invest in teaching training. And he told me our teacher doesn't know about ChatGPT. And recently she started to learn about that the students are cheating and using, in her perspective, cheating and using ChatGPT to generate the assignment. So she started to go and look at the assignment, and then he said to me, believe it or not, some of us use the ChatGPT to generate the assignment, and so the others are. And the teacher, when she focused and tried to catch who was using the ChatGPT, she got the wrong one. She got the student who did it by themselves, and the others who did ChatGPT, she couldn't catch them. So the point is, we need to train our teachers or even some of the faculty how to use the chat. So, and this is the question here. So we cannot avoid using the technology or check GPT in general. So we have to accept it, but we need to know how to use it, and we need to know how to train people to use it. So it's one thing can improve the quality of the education. So we cannot ignore this before. So this is the point. I just give a real example here for you to see how we, as a faculty, my students are using this, and I start to realize, and I from day one, okay, you can use it, but at the end of the day, what you touch. We start from here, so it's good for us. We can use it as a co-pilot, not just copy and paste. So it's a co-pilot for us. We start with it, and then we put our touch, we put our input. So this is the point that I can highlight.
Thank you, Professor. And I think in my perspective is neural networks have been there, as Professor said, in the last 30, 40 years, people started with neural networks. What wasn't there was amount of data that we have to. So for ChatGPT, the reason it's able to give us, let's say, aggressive outcome is it has been training on the whole of the internet. So the whole of the internet is really a training material for the ChatGPT. The compute power has been also advancing, and the GPU, and so I think these two elements has really contributed in this advancement, and also the advent of transformers, because what was missing was really the attention that was really missing. Now, how can we use this technology? First of all, I agree its bias is there. If we look at bias, also from a language perspective, if it's 90% of the data is English, there is bias towards other languages. The Arabic language is only represented, I think we did a study, it's only almost 5/1,000 is Arabic. Many of the Arabic, even though Arabic language is among the richest in terms of construction, in terms of really the depth of the language, but it's all on non-digital format. So we have all the books that we have for many years, maybe hundreds of years, are not digitized and not in a digital format, and it's not trained on these GPT systems. I think this will change. What's happening in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, and Qatar in particular is really serious attempts to advance the Arabic language and having large language models that really understands Arabic very well. And I think really the usage of people ask me, what do you think of because when we started in the ChatGPT, we were all invest on a communication, talking to someone who give us good results. But then after a week, 2 weeks, you tend to use it less and less. And this is a trend. But in my belief, the ChatGPT or large language model in general, BART or ChatGPT, or the Falcons that are developed or Alam that is developed themselves, I think the value will be if it's really embedded to our daily life. If, for example, and the good thing about these technologies, we don't have to change the way we talk. We don't have to speak in proper Arabic language for the machine to understand me. I speak my language naturally, and this is why natural language processing is the natural way we speak. We speak like we speak to a family member. And when the machine understands, think of it if you are going to your health portal. I know our countries have health portal. You go and access and you try to book an appointment. You ask for your medication detail. So imagine that if you go to this portal and the portal, instead of navigating from one page to another, you just simply using a layer similar to the ChatGPT and you say, "Welcome, Majid. How can I help you today?" And if I say I need to know more about diabetic, it gives me more information because it will use my personal information to really customize the prompt that goes to the system, and it knows that I'm answering a person who's in his 50s, he's male, he has this problem, chronic disease. So the answer will be more personalized to me. And if that answer is coming to me saying, okay, diabetic is this and that, and tells me, okay, do you want me to book an appointment for you? And I said, yes, it knows where I live. So it books an appointment next to my house. It also uses the pharmacy that is next to my house for a refill. Think of it, this is the future of driving your car and then, waiting in the traffic, cannot do anything in a very heavy traffic that is happening in our region. And the car can speak to you and you can say, okay, what is happening in Riyadh today? Is there any event in Riyadh? I'm in this place. What can I do just to benefit from the time wasted in the car? And talks to me and gives me information, and not only giving me information, but also process that information for me. So, for example, booking an appointment with a doctor, or booking to find you a ticket for an event, or doing this and that. I think this is the future of digitization. So we have achieved a lot in the digitization, especially in our, I know friends in the US, or I think the amount of digitization that is happening in Saudi and in UAE is really tremendous. What is missing is really natural language processing that really transformers and the liking of transformers are providing that will give you really personalized services. And that's really the future of it.
Yes, thank you. I've used the ChatGPT indeed, and I agree with you. It is unavoidable. You can't go around it. It's escaped out of the box, so to speak. And indeed, today's increasing technology, CPU power and support has allowed it to grow to where it is right now. At the same time, it is a tool. And there is this old saying that says, a fool with tool. I won't go on with that. But it also implies that we need to master the tool. We need to educate. Not just your children, not just your students, but anyone that you. Because there is this perception, which is created by the user of language, that it has true intelligence. But it's just a full speech. It is just predicting what is the likelihood of the next word onto the previous word, onto the previous word, onto the previous word. There is no meaning in the sentences that are created. That we forget, because in our perception, all the language created looks very logical, which is just based on those things. But if you actually use it, it is only if you are master of the subject, if you have the ability to detect whether something is stated as true, not true, half true, or completely fabricated. And that is an issue with any tool, I would argue. You need to fully master it. And if we don't do that, and if we keep saying it is, it solves everything, it has the intelligence. No, it hasn't. It has its limitations today. We need to truly understand the limitations and operate it within those boundaries, which holds true for anything that we as man create. And that is part of our responsibility to go about it. And so yes, it is great. It will evolve. Many issues will be taken care of in time. We are in decades from whenever we started this discussion on AI. But then again, we have a number of winters in the world. And maybe it's time that we also change the paradigm. Don't talk about artificial intelligence, but we talk about augmented intelligence, as it augments our human intelligence, as opposed to replace our human intelligence. That is part of, I think, taking responsibility. My personal experience is like I said, it's just because I have the actual knowledge about the subject. I'm in the field of project program portfolio management. That's my thing that I've been doing for the past 30 years. So asking it for questions generates language that seem appropriate, but diving through, you notice there are not just biases, but indeed hallucinations, and they'll even hallucinate cited literature that does not exist. But it is only because you have the in-depth knowledge in that particular field that you will be able to distinguish them. Imagine if that happens to those that are not knowledgeable in the field and take on what is generated as the truth and start to propagate that through all the channels that we have nowadays. Before we know it, we end up in the biblical situation of the Babylonian Tower. We generate a lot of language, but we don't understand each other. And that's the whole point. The language generated seems acceptable, seems logical, but you have to have the capability to make an assessment whether it is true or not. And for all things that are simple, structured, systematic, generate code for software, perfect. For procedures, perfect. But if there's true intelligence or creativity required in terms of science and stuff like that, understand it is a tool, and you need to make use of it as a tool. I mean, we're focusing more on the Arabic language. And it's, like I said, the Arabic is still, I think 4 is better, much better than 3, but still it's missing a lot in the Arabic language. And this is where you might want to use another layer like 3 on top of the PDP, so that you can really focus and do the customization and reduce the organization, because it's a general model. I mean, it answers question in every topic, in every language. You want to make it more focused. So focus on technology in healthcare means you have to build another layer of maybe linking that with up-to-date database. Up-to-date database has a great information about healthcare. And I was really impressed because I did a research about certain health disease. It took me like 2 months, 3 months, printing all the papers. And I came to a conclusion and I said, okay, let me try that. Especially not the general one, But the one that was built with the retriever that is really more medical and has an up-to-date database. And I asked the question, does this medication and this medication, all right, I'm taking this medication and I have an enzyme, liver enzyme increase. Is there any correlation? And it gave me the same conclusion that the people. I was really impressed by that. So I think the amount of data and knowledge, the good thing about the GPT-like system is it really sees things at many angles that we humans sometimes fail. But I agree, at the end, it's a tool. This tool has to be perfect every time. And I think in the healthcare, the AI in healthcare has really proven very important and very beneficial, especially in the medical imaging field. Today, we have systems in the medical imaging that can read the image with a higher quality than the human. And this is true for breast cancer, for example. The results is 92%. The machine give you 92, north of 92%, where the human is 80%, which means if we use the system only in the screening, and imagine that the percentage of women who have breast cancer is about 2 to 4%. But what this means for human, they have to read 100 mammogram, 100 images, just to find the 2%. What if I flip the equation? What if we tell the machine, take all this 100 and give me only the 10 ones that are important for the physician to read. This is, we save the time of the physician, we improve the learning for residents, and this is where AI is used as a tool, not as a physician, but really as an augmented tool for the physician to do their work.
Yeah, my personal experience throughout my students. So I'm teaching, for example, FPGA, and then to learn HDL or Verilog for undergrad students, it's a hassle for them. And they don't want to learn for any high descriptive language. So I asked them to, okay, you can get the code from anywhere, and then usually they go and the first thing to think about to generate it from GPT or something like that. So it helped me a lot. I used to spend 1 month to teach them HDL, but now I don't have to do that anymore. So I expedite the learning process. So I start from day one to learn about how to do a sophisticated food, and we start from maybe second week or third week to start to have real implementation of FPGA for instead of spending half of the semester just to learn about language. So it's helped me a lot in my classroom. So I personally, I use it very, very minimum, but I use it a lot.
Ask the audience about their personal experience with the ChatGPT. So who wanna start? Thank you very much, Professor Majdi. As you know, we have COP 28, and a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about how to protect our coastal cities because of the rising sea level. So I thought if we can make, the Arabian Gulf level different from the Indian Ocean, that will solve the problem. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, can you give me a proposal? And give me a nice proposal by putting a lock in the Hermes Strait, something like Panama Canal. Then we can make the Arabian Gulf at a level lower than the Indian Ocean, and that will solve the problem. But it says, like it needs collaboration between all the GCC countries plus Iran plus Iraq to work on that project. So I think the augmented use is really good, because I don't think ChatGPT can give me directly that proposal, but because the proposal came from me, but I think ChatGPT helped me in putting a real proposal. Thank you. Hussein has a lot of interest in history and literature.
Thank you. I think my question is a little different from ChatGPT. Let's go behind ChatGPT, right? We are talking about generative AI, right? Or we are talking about generative artificial intelligence. I mean, the pros we heard, right? I mean, amazing. It's really good. Large language models are good for text summarization, you know. But the challenges again are we are scrapping this large scale data. And if the large scale data is available for certain domain, the performance is great, right? For example, if you have to train an LLM model against millions of books, amazing. We can use generative AI, right? But then if you go to specific domain like healthcare, the challenge is going to be you're going to be dealing with personalized health data. There are regulations and also the standardization differs from country to country, right? Just wanted to get your opinion, you know, like, how do you see that, impacting specifically on healthcare applications, where I think the generative AI will play a great role in terms of training future doctors, giving them, augmented reality could be combined. We can make it to be an augmented learning. But then to provide an experience like how we have with ChatGPT right now, I think it's going to be tremendously difficult. The more and more you work on personalized health information. I just wanted to give that some insights from.
Majid, do you want to respond to that? Any engineer in the house?
No, and I agree. This, for example, the healthcare example you gave, historically, digitization has to do with data and classify data and standardize data. And this is where we are now enjoying most of our digitized work. It's really structured data in a database, and then we make use of that. I think what generative AI will be providing is not all the data has to be classified. You can learn from the data even in a single format, even in a text format, even in an OCR type of things. So that's really the future where I think AI will be provided, because the amount of data that is digitized is far less than the amount of data that is not digitized. I mean, look at all the streets, look at all the cameras in the streets. In the case of smart city, if you know all these images and video streams and get used to it, using generative AI that can give really correlation and say, okay, traffic has common, let's say, features in all over the world, and this is how we are going to do things about it. When it comes to, for example, medication, personalized medication. Today, what we do in medication is the medication is created in Switzerland and it's applied on an Arabic person. My gene is different than the gene of the European type. And it's been a trial and error. The whole field of medicine is a trial and error. This is all the clinical trials is about. Maybe in the future, we can put the whole of genome sequence of a person as a data input to the AI and let the machine learn certain things about you. Maybe this will create personalized medicine, create personalized health. And I think this is the future for health as an example, but many people.
Okay, who wants to give us, right?
Quick experience. I think that most of us have experienced some sort of backdraws from our family physicians in North America, especially in wrong diagnosis. So I've tried in the past few months. So every time I go to a family physician, I describe my symptoms to ChatGPT and tell me what do you think this is. And I go to the physicians and I ask them, I give them the description, and after they describe what the diagnosis is, I give them the description that generated by ChatGPT. And it turns out in 90% of the cases that I've tried, ChatGPT is much more accurate than the physician.
Your physician need to be changed.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amjad Rawani. I am from University of Dubai. It's a pleasure to be here today. So one of the applications mentioned about ChatGPT was programming. So I will briefly give my perspective and also my experience about this particular subject. So I'm a judge in programming competition that we do here in the Gulf since 10 years. It's called Gulf Programming Contest. So where like I meet with some of my colleagues and we design the problem set for this context, then content, sorry, and then we give it to students to solve it through 5 hours. So usually we try to come up with like a creative and unique type of problems, and then we work together to solve the problems before we give them to students. And like sometimes the problem is like pure mathematical or pure scientific, like for example, given a list or a set of numbers, we want to find the subset with the maximum summation, for example. However, when we write it, we try to make it more appealing. We try to build a story about it. Like, for example, a guy is playing with the toys, and this toys has, for example, each one has a power value or a number on it, and then we put them beside each other. So we try to make a story about it and give it to students to solve it within a specific time. So this year, while we were trying to work on the problem set, so usually I try to solve some problems from my colleagues, and then they do the same. Then it came to my mind that I want to use these generative AI tools to solve this problem. So I took the problem as we described it, then I give it to ChatGPT, and then it generated some code for me, but that code we're doing some parts correctly, but it was kind of lost because I used a lot of keywords that are not related to the problem. Then I try to rewrite the same problem in like more concise and more scientific and specific way, and then feed it to the tool. And then it started to give me more reasonable solution, and it goes to the near one. And then after that, I tried to do it step by step. So I took part of the problem, give it to the tool, then it will give me part of the solution. Then I use it in my code. Then eventually I was able to solve like one of the most complex problems that we give to the students using this approach. And then like I came to the conclusion that this tool is really very, very powerful and very useful, but we also need to know how to use it, and we can also guide it. We can interact with it. So sometimes I give the problem, it gives me the solution. Then I give feedback to the tool. Please use this particular, for example, data structure, or add this component to your solution. It will regenerate or improve the code. So I did this like with several types of problems. So I think this is my experience. No,
Thanks. All right. Okay, so the question is, as you guys mentioned, we like having computer architecture, we have a general purpose processor, and then we came to application specific. And this is the direction we're going to, right? Like you will have a health informatics ChatGPT, probably industrial ChatGPT, literature, and so on. How far are we? Where, do we have now available this, or are people working on it, and how practical it is?
I'll start off. We agree that computing power provides us the ability to find patterns. That is the great value, whether it's mammographs or any other X-ray photos or any other type of data. Actually, it has its great ability to find patterns, which we humans either have to have done many times before we recognize it. And so that is the real core strength of what it offers. However, coming from patterns to meaning is something completely different. Moreover, coming to a consensus meaning is completely different, which also needs to take into account the context, which makes it even more different. So we're still far away, but there is this almost procedural step from data to patterns to meaning, and then we can change whatever we do, our behavior or our act of doing. So it'll take a while, but that is probably where it's going.
But in the same direction, will it be culture based? Like I will have a Saudi ChatGPT, an Egyptian ChatGPT, an American ChatGPT. Would it be different? What?
Most likely, yes. That's the context dependency, because we are all different, as you rightfully pointed out, whether we men, women, or from other racial nature. Those dependencies need to be taken into account. That's the contextual element.
Last question. What is the impact on creativity? You know, one of the main problems with AI, they said it will make human lazy, don't do anything. Will ChatGPT affect creativity? Because now we can, instead of going, me create something, I will ask ChatGPT to create it. So what will be the impact on creativity?
I think I can add to this. I don't think it will have a bad impact. It will have a positive impact because it will help us. Our threshold to start from would be higher. So we can start, we have to add our input in a way, but we can, instead of spending a lot of time to learn about something and then do creativity, we can start from higher threshold. We can start from something and then we add our creativity. We will add our creativity anyway, but it will improve the creativity.
Did you like the poetry I came up with?
Yes.
I mean, the meaning really was very good, but I didn't like it as a poetry. It is missing something. And I said, like, it gave me a 2D instead of the 3D poetry. Any last comments? All right. In this case, let us thank our panelists. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Please stay on stage for our group photo. After that outstanding discussion, it's time for a short networking break. Take this opportunity to connect with your fellow participants and share your thoughts on the topic discussed so far. Thank you so much.